Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 19 of our 100-day challenge. Today's topic is I versus we. It's the perfect capstone for the whole culture arc that we've uncovered from day 12 to day 18. So, here we go. So, back in the main season, episode 4, I spent a whole video showing you how the West lost its village, the male loneliness, the hard numbers. One exhausted person handed the job an entire village used to do. If you haven't seen that one, watch it after this because I'm not repeating it today. So for today, I'm giving you the other half because episode 4 told you something true, but it's only half of it. It showed you the West's loneliness, and I stand by every word of that. What I didn't show you, though, is ours. It might have left you thinking the West lost its village and we kept ours. So we must be safe, right? Well, the first part is true. The second part is the flattering half. And you know I don't sell the flattering half, so today the shadow side. The other half about my own culture I don't usually say out loud. So stay with me because by the end you're going to understand the deepest reason a good Western man and a good Filipina actually fit. And it's not the reason you think. So I'm going to be fairer to both sides today than I ever have because the easy version of this story is a fantasy, and fantasies get people hurt. Act 1, the two worlds. Episode 4 was about the village, the people around you. Today goes deeper. It is about how you're built on the inside. Because a Westerner and a Filipina don't just live in different villages, they carry a different answer to a very simple question. Where do you go when this all ends? For a Westerner, the answer is clean. You end up in your own skin, your own person, your own project, your own story. Your life is yours to build and yours to spend. And that is a gift. I mean that. Freedom, the right to choose your own road, privacy. And if something isn't working, there's the door. You can always just walk out of it. That's a real beautiful thing, and half the world would trade everything for it. For a Filipina, on the other hand, the answer is different. She doesn't end in her own skin. She includes her mother, her father, her siblings, the nieces and nephews. And I've mentioned this many times now. The word for it is kapwa, the shared self, the idea that you and the people you love aren't really separate. You're one thing, and that's a gift too. You're never a single grain. You're always part of a handful. You are never ever alone. But here's the thing about gifts. Every one of them has a shadow. The I can leave, which means the I can also be left. The we holds you, which means the we can also trap you. And that shadow is where we dig in today. Act 2, the paradox. In episode 4, I showed you the West's loneliness. I didn't get it wrong. I just hadn't shown you ours yet because we have our own and it's a completely different thing. Now, one thing is true. The biggest study ever done on this, 46,000 people across 237 countries, islands, and territories, found that the more individualist a country is, the lonelier its people are. So yes, on average, the West is lonelier. That part holds. But here's what I didn't tell you. There are two kinds of lonely, and every culture picks one. The I is lonely because it's alone. Nobody's there. The house is quiet. The phone doesn't ring, etc. That's the Western kind, isolation. But the we is lonely because it's unseen. That one's harder to explain, so let me try. It's being in a room full of family and feeling like nobody actually knows you. It's the fiesta where you laugh and serve and smile all day and go to bed feeling like a stranger. It's the marriage you can't leave, not because it's good, but because leaving would be walang hiya, shameful, and the whole town would talk about it. It's 100 relationships you can't really get out of, and not one where you can say what you really feel. Because hiya won't let you, pakikisama won't let you. You keep the peace instead of telling the truth every day, your whole life. But let me caveat that there are many healthy families I see with very amazing family dynamics. They usually belong in the middle class to upper middle class families because they don't have to worry about survival anymore, so they can really look into the individual in their family and everyone is heard. The not being heard is usually in survival environments where the needs of the individual is far less than the needs of the we. And now let's go to the West. Where you're from, you're lonely because you're alone. Here, you can be lonely because you're never allowed to be alone and never ever allowed to be honest. Being surrounded is not the same as being seen, and a lot of us have never once in our whole lives been truly seen. I've experienced that. My earliest memory of thoughts of independence was when I was 5 years old. Being the fifth of eight children at that time, I quickly realized that my mother was only one person and there were eight of us, so she couldn't possibly have enough love for all of us. And so I decided then I have to look out for my own emotional needs. I don't want to completely depend on my mother because she's just one and I don't want her to get exhausted. So you learn how to like fend for yourself and to just stay quiet and keep your needs to yourself because you won't be heard anyway and because there are just too many of you that focusing on yourself would be selfish. So now let me flip my own point of view on you because the we isn't all shadow. It has a mercy built into it, one the West quietly lost. Here, you can hand your heartache, your problems to almost anyone, a stranger on a bus, the neighbor at the waiting shed, the tendera at the corner store. Small story. Back in 2014, I took my first solo trip north of Luzon, 6 hours to a little mountain cove. 30 minutes into the bus ride, a woman sits beside me. 2 minutes of highs and hellos, she's already telling me about her daughters, their names, their dreams, everything she wants for them. 5 hours later, I told her my whole life too. I got off that bus with her number, her kids, and her Facebook accounts, and an invitation to a family party months away. Total strangers, 5 hours, everything. And you'll see it everywhere in these rural communities. My own neighborhood, the men gather at the waiting shed, morning, noon, afternoon, and they just talk for hours. One peels off when duty calls, then he's right back in the circle. They hand each other their problems like passing around a bag of chicharon. No appointment, no copay, no therapist. Well, if you're to ask me, that's kind of how the village therapy works here in rural areas. And this opening up to strangers thing, I think that's part of why, poor as we are, we don't buckle the way you might expect. Our suicide rate here sits around 3 per 100,000. The European Union averages about 10, the United States over 14. And look closer at Europe because this is the part that really matters. The lowest countries on the whole continent are Italy, Greece, the Mediterranean South. The most family-bound we of the West, they're almost down at our level. The highest are the individualist North and East. This was never the West or America versus us, the Philippines. It's I versus we, and it runs into a spectrum. Now, let me caveat our numbers because ours are undercounted. For generations, shame and religion kept these deaths off the books, and it's climbing now, especially among our young. Honestly, as our kids trade the waiting shed for the social media feed, the scroll, the comparing, the performing, our numbers are creeping toward the West's, which might be the clearest proof I can give you that this was never about geography. Pull the people out of the we and into the I, and the loneliness follows every time. If any of this is sitting heavy on you as you listen, the crisis numbers are in the description and pinned at the top of the comments. You don't have to be in a crisis to use them. Act 3, the dark side of the we. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Fine, then I'll just go where the we still works. I'll move to the Philippines and never be lonely again. Slow down, please, because I'm about to save you from a very expensive mistake. In episode 4, I called our sense of community our moat, our protection, and it is, but listen to me. A moat protects the castle, but it also traps you inside it. The same we that holds you, it also watches you. Especially in rural areas and communities outside of gated subdivisions, the whole barangay tends to know your business, your money, your marriage, your fights, all of it. Hiya is a beautiful word for a heavy chain. Pakikisama, getting along, keeping the peace. sounds lovely until you realize it can mean swallowing your own truth so nobody else is uncomfortable. And there's a thing we do here, crab mentality, we call it. Like crabs in a bucket, the moment one starts to climb out, the others reach up and drag it back down. Nobody's allowed to escape. The point is this: the we can be a warm bath. It can also be a cage with the door painted to look like it's a warm hug. And gentlemen, don't get smug over there, yeah? Because your side has the exact mirror. The freedom to live is also the freedom to be left. The independence you're so proud of is the same independence that means when you fall, sometimes nobody is coming. Episode 4 has all the numbers on that. I won't put you through them again. So here's the honest truth both sides don't want to hear. Nobody solved the loneliness, not the West, not us. We each just picked which kind we are willing to risk. Act for the synthesis. And this is the one I've been walking you toward all month. Let me tell you this about a Filipina and a Western man. Each one's strength is the exact cure for the other's loneliness. Her loneliness is being surrounded but never seen, never able to be fully herself. And what is a Western man built to do? He is direct, sometimes too direct. He looks you in the eye and asks, "What do you actually feel?" And he wants the real answer, not the polite one, not the white lie. He spent his whole life as an eye, so he knows how to see a person up close as herself, not as a role, not as somebody's daughter, just her. Gentlemen, do you understand what that is to a woman who's never been allowed to be honest a day in her life? You could be the first person who ever truly saw her. No hiya, no performing, just her, finally seen. Now let's flip it. His loneliness is being free but alone. The quiet house, the independence that curdled into isolation. And what is she built to do? She comes from the we. She weaves people in. In her world, nobody is left out. Nobody is left alone. Somebody always asks if you've eaten. Somebody always notices you walked into the room. She can give him the one thing all his freedom never could. She can make him part of something again. So look at what actually happens. She gives him the we he lost. He gives her the I she was never allowed. It's not that they fit despite the gap between them. They fit because of it. Two halves of the same loneliness, and together they cancel it out. But, and this is the whole reason I made you sit through this month, this only works if you each bring your strength and leave the shadow at the door. In episode 4, I told you the Philippines is not a repair shop for a broken man. Same rule today. If he brings the I at its worst, I owe nobody, I answer to no one, I leave when I'm bored. And she brings the we at its worst. You owe my whole family, everything, forever, no boundaries. Then you don't get the best of both worlds. You get the worst of both. A lonely, resentful, exhausted mess, keeping score. Every video I put you through since day 2, every bit of it was leading to one lesson. Keep the strength and cut the shadow. So let me bring the whole thing home. This right here, everything we talked about, is what where love makes sense actually means. It was never that the Philippines is some paradise where nobody's lonely. I just proved to you in many ways it isn't. It's that when an honest I meets a warm we, and they each show up with their best, they can build the one thing many people on this earth never gets. A place where you belong and you're seen at the same time. Most people only ever get one, belonging without being seen or being seen without belonging. Whereas you two, you could have both. And that's the last 2 weeks, gentlemen. The woman in front of you, the age gap, the money, the class, the culture. It was never a list of red flags to fear, nor an attempt to justify or excuse the toxic side of my culture. It was a map. If, after seeing both the good and the ugly sides, you still want a relationship with a Filipina, please learn how to read and navigate that map. Set your boundaries early. Bring your best self, because when you do, you don't get a transaction, you get a home. Now, to those in the comments still convinced that the Filipino way of loving is a scam, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion and your conclusions. No one is forcing you to accept her beliefs, just as she shouldn't be forced to accept yours. Life is too short to dwell on things that don't really make our lives better. And the same applies to finding a life partner. If someone's values don't align with yours, let go and move on. Find someone who shares your mindset and loves the way you love, because you can't fit a square peg in a round hole, no matter how hard you try, unless you both found a way to square the circle. Pardon me, everyone. I lost the rest of the footage because my camera froze. Tomorrow, we are going to go through your comments. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye.